So, okay, so we treat these like equations, same inverse operation rules. We don't do anything different. But the added step is we have to graph it, right? Because that shows us what all the possible answers can be, right? An inequality is meaning all the things that x could be, so that 3 times that number is greater than or equal to 12. So we don't want to spend the rest of our lives writing all those possibilities. So somebody came up with a way to put on a number line so everybody knows it's everything going in one direction or another, or sometimes in opposite directions, which we'll get to not today. So I am going to divide by 3 on both sides, just like if it was an equation. So I'm left with x is greater than or equal to 4. Right? So what could x be? Somebody give me an example of what x could be in this situation. Sebastian?
Negative 1 billion.
No.
That's the one wrong answer.
Nope.
That's like one
Nope.
of the few wrong answers.
Caleb? 4. Give me another one, Will.
Sebastian.
3. Grace?
Wait, never mind.
Wait, 3 can't be the answer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
3
gonna
can't
say
be the
5.
answer.
5. Gabby?
6.
6. Mason?
4.1.
Great, 4.1. Anything that is greater than or equal to 4. What?
I agree, Sebastian.
It has to be greater than or equal to 4.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Okay. So then to graph that, we have to make a number line. Now you're going to want to pay attention. Cohen, turn around, please. You're going to want to pay attention to how, like what I expect as you're graphing, because some people have different expectations. Mine are fairly straightforward. You're going to put the number that we're talking about as a reference. You're going to put 0, and then you're going to put its opposite. That's all you have to have on your number line. You don't need to put all the different little marks for 1, 2, 3, -1, -2. No, that's not a good use of our time. So the number we're talking about, 0, and then the opposite. So then there's a special thing that I have to do with this 4. I have to plot it, and then am I going to keep that open or am I going to close it? Whoop, whoop. I'm gonna close it. I'm gonna close it.
I always didn't know what
Okay.
Did you
So-
say who the crap?
So if any, okay, so I'm gonna explain it. I'm going to explain it because I know there's some people that have confusion. Then obviously I have to draw an arrow, an exaggerated of which direction all the possible solutions are. I'm making this super exaggerated so you guys can see it in the notes, but I should be able to tell that you know which direction all the values greater than are. Just a second. If you have your variable on the left, the inequality symbol will point in the direction that your arrow should go. So I always encourage students to rewrite the inequality after you've solved it so that the variable's on the left, so that the arrow is always going the same direction, right? So do you see how this is pointing this way? So the arrow is going that way. Also, if you think about it, where are the values greater than 4? To the right. Okay. Vincent, did you have a question?
So is like squiggly line fine? That's what I did last year.
A squiggly line?
Like, you squiggle over your straight line that you have for your number one.
As long as I know that, yeah, I'm not going to be super picky about that. Okay. Now, why is this?
I won't accept that.
Okay, why is this closed? Because 4 could be one of the solutions. So if it's closed, that tells us it's an or equal to situation. If it's open, you can't use that number. It has to be anything greater than that, okay? Or less, right? So only if it has equal to. Yes?
If 4 was negative, wouldn't you switch it? Like switch greater to less than?
That's a different situation. Okay, we'll get there, but not quite. I know what you're thinking. You're like, you're so close to something you remember from last year, but we'll get there. Okay, let's not confuse anybody. This next example will go it has exactly what you're asking about. Okay, negative 4x is less than 28. Excuse me. Make that negative 4x is greater than 28. Change it to greater than. Use your erasers. That's on you, man. I tell you guys to use pencil.
That's a you problem.
Seems like you problem.
Okay, so I'm going to divide by negative 4, and because I'm dividing by a negative, I have to flip the sign.
Oh, yeah.
So you only flip the sign. Is that what you were kind of remembering? Yep.
Yeah, I remember saying something like that, but I didn't understand it.
Yes, I am.
It's only if you're at this point of your inequality. We're going to get into multi-step inequalities. If your last step you divide by a negative, you have to flip the sign.
That's so much more simple than what she said about it.
Well, I don't know.
She made it sound so much
Same
more
with Mr. Yoder.
I don't know.
This is cool.
So oftentimes I think that in 7th grade you're not quite ready to like. There is science behind when your brain's ready to like understand something or not. So I sometimes hear students go, "Oh, this is so much easier." It's not different necessarily. It's just your brain's ready for it. So, like, I'm sure your teacher did a fantastic job explaining it last year.
She's alright.
Stellar. Yes.
So you flip the sign to negative, but,
Nope. So it's only when I divide by a negative.
but
And-
is it also the inverse of multiplying? Or I guess you're always dividing.
Well, sometimes you would have to multiply, and yes, if it was a negative, but it's very rare that that happens. It's very rare. Yep. You'll be fine. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to do my number line. What will my 3 values be on my number line? Negative 7, 0, 7. Open or closed on the negative 7? Open. And am I going to go to the left or to the right with my arrow?
Left.
To the left, right?
Because that's pointing at.
These are all less, right? And my inequality is pointing that way because my variable is on the left. So let's write ourselves a little note. Flip the sign. When your last step is to divide by a negative. You have to hold on to it. No. Just keep it flat on the table. Don't break it. I literally just bought it. Okay, you're done.
I thought someone was drilling into the door.
Oh, I thought he turned into a robot.
They give me PTSD.
It kind of sounds like the dentist,
That's what I was
That sounded like a
yeah,
That's true.
which was not on the package. Like it didn't actually say that. Like warning, this sounds like a dentist drill. So it just is what it is.
I also played a game where someone drilled it into my. It was like a dentist simulator on VR or something like that.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, it was horrifying.
Okay. So another thing you're going to have to know how to do is to create the inequality from the graph. So these notes are going to kind of look weird because by the time we're done with them, you're not going to be able to tell that you created the inequality from the graph because it's just going to be like a graph next to an inequality, but we're going to talk through it. So hopefully it'll make sense. Let's put little squiggles under this to draw our attention. So we're going to start with a graph. So you have the graph. Pretend like we already did some sort of equation and this is what we graphed. So what was the inequality that we ended up with to give us this graph? I'll give you a hint. It starts with x. So then you have to say, all right, well, where's my point? What is it plotted on?
It has to be pointing that way because the arrow's going
That way.
Harsha?
X is greater than or equal to 2.
Great. So I'm on the 2. I know that. And I know it's or equal to because it's closed. And all of these are greater. So it's got to go this way.
X is greater than 3.
Versus my mom.
No, it literally says 2. Where do you find the 3?
X is greater than 3. I'm starting to question your math. I'm sorry, sir, but that doesn't make sense.
It's not greater or equal to.
Sebastian, you heard my brain.
13%.
Oh, okay. Right. X is greater than 3.
So what will the inequality be that I created this graph on? Story? X, we know it's at -3. All the values are greater. It does not include the -3, so it's just going to be greater than 3.
So X is greater than or equal to -2.
Huh?
So X is greater than or equal to -2.
Yeah, there's no point in having
You can't, like with inequalities, you can't just change it like that. It's not the same thing. Like you have to, you can't just be like, you could, you could say X could be -2, yes. But it's not only,
trying to be smart, but
it's not only though, so you can't use that statement. Like you can't change it around like that.
No.
Because you have to also include everything from -3 up.
Yeah, it could be like -3.1.
Right.
No, but it was 99999.
Okay. That is all the notes we're taking today.
No, I didn't get it. I must be tweaking.
Sebastian, do you go by Seabass? Seabass. You should try to be more like Seabass. He did G.
My name's Calculator. Just call me that.
Really just got 2 things wrong with
Okay,
Seabass.
so I want you guys to put in here equations quiz first, and then put the notes, because I'm about ready to give you your equations quiz. Like, give it back to you graded, right?
I missed like 3 days.
It's not, nope, because I don't have the percentages done yet.
Is it on Thursday or Friday? This was the first one.
The equation study.
Oh, I was doing my quiz first. Why didn't you tell me that?
Okay, I'm coming around with a practice page. The copier is doing this weird thing where it's putting like lines through stuff. I don't know why, but so just ignore that.
Maybe he just doesn't like it.
I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that, Will. want to believe that the copier machine is my friend.
It's probably not.
It is. It just
I give it
doesn't
job
like us.
security every day.
People just don't see the bright side of people.
Nikki, you
I don't see the bright side of people.